When I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, it's the ejaculate conception.
The ejaculate conception. Well, that's another hashtag for this episode. That's pretty great.
Hashtag ejaculate conception, baby.
What is your podcast about? Hanging out with your smartest and funniest friend.
You know me, I'll kill anybody, but I'll only sleep with someone I love.
Baby, she's a slut, just like her mother.
Hey cuties, and welcome to Horror Icon, your queer playground for all things scary, sexy, and stupid. You know me, I'm CryBaby, the spooky slut from your wettest nightmare, and we have with us today...
Hi, everybody. I'm Donnie Sanciano. I am the kind of trans man you'd like to take home to meet your parents.
Damn right. Hi, Donnie. Donnie, might I say, you're looking wonderful today. I'm living for this.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much. It's my cowboy fantasy, which I don't actually have because I'm from New York, but I do look good in this hat.
Yeah, you do. I've seen you perform in this hat before, right?
Oh, yes, you have. You've seen me do some drag in this hat.
Okay, I thought so, because it looks familiar. I love the horns. Those are horns, right?
Those are horns, yeah. My little devil horns.
Oh, we're feeling horny, baby.
Oh, God, always. I'm a Scorpio.
That's true. Mighty intense. Scorpio rising here, so we connect on that shit.
Absolutely.
But yes, welcome back, Donnie. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And of course, welcome to my listeners. Welcome back if you've been listening regularly, and thank you for being here. And if you're just finding us, welcome to the show. Again, listen, y'all, I'm not good at this whole like and subscribe and hit the notification thing. It's just it just doesn't feel natural to me. So
Smash that subscribe button.
I know. I'm just gonna say right now, like, subscribe, help us grow, protect queer art, right?
Yes.
Yes, we're making queer art. We are making community. So the more you subscribe, the more you share, stuff like that, the easier it is for other people to find us. And also the easier it is for me to make money off of this so I can continue to pay queer artists because we want to pay the community, right?
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
We also want to feel liked. So just give us those likes because we got to get that dopamine from somewhere.
I am a validation whore. I love a compliment. I love external validation. Oh my God, Donnie, did I tell you? I finally started getting nice comments on the videos.
Hey, no, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yes. Okay. I mean, it wasn't a lot. It was like a couple, but these people were very nice. They're just like, oh my God, I love you. Da, 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 da. You're very underrated. And I'm like, thank you. That's such
I am underrated.
I am very underrated. It's such a departure from like people saying that they're like throwing up in their mouth or like that they wanted to watch the video, but my voice pissed them off. So,
oh no, you got one of those? Come on.
I did get one of those, but listen, it's fine. As a thicker queer person, and I don't want to say I'm used to it as in it's like I'm justifying the behavior and it's fine. It's more so like I'm used to it in the sense of just like it doesn't bother me anymore. It carries no weight.
Unlike me, which carries a lot of weight as a thicker queer person.
Love it. Oh, goodness. Well, yes. Anyway, all that to be said, everybody, thank you for being here. We're happy you're here. And if you're returning, you may remember last week we covered the queer cult classic Bride of Chucky.
Queer cult classic.
Yes, queer cult classic. How was that for you, Donnie?
Right. It was a surprising journey, but it was wonderful. Very always glad to talk about anything that has Jennifer Tilly in it.
Mm-hmm. And we get to continue that today, baby, because we're talking about Seed of Chucky.
Yes.
Arguably the most blatantly queer film in the franchise.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. We're not playing around there.
Not at all. So let me go ahead. I'm going to read for you all another CryBaby synopsis, again, from the heart. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to Hollywood, baby, with this week's movie, Seed of Chucky. 50% family drama, 50% slasher satire, 100% queer fever dream. This movie follows the titular Seed of Chucky, Glenn slash Glenda, a sweet, anxious British doll, searching for their place in the world. After seeing Chucky's dead body being used as an animatronic puppet in the new upcoming slasher Chucky Goes Psycho, Glenn breaks out of a freak show, goes to Hollywood, and resurrects the murderous duo Chucky and Tiffany. Meta chaos ensues as Chucky and Tiffany navigate their newfound parenthood. Glenn finds themselves in the midst of a gender identity crisis and a murder spree. And Jennifer Tilly attempts to sleep her way into the role of the Virgin Mary, a role that will most certainly give her the Oscar.
Well done. Definitely right from the heart.
Thank you. I have a lot of fun writing these. I don't know what it is. I feel like I get some of my I mean, I wouldn't even say it's frustration, but I get to read. Like not like read from the page, but I get to like be a little sassy.
Read. Right.
Ex-
Gotcha.
Exactly. So, Seed of Chucky. Donnie, how do you feel about Seed of Chucky?
Seed of Chucky is a carnival nightmare of just meta ridiculousness and queer sexuality. I mean, it's not pulling any punches when it comes to being a very, very gay film, to the point that it even has the phenomenal John Waters in it.
Oh,
Like it's just with his addition to the cast, the movie got like 29% gayer. I say 29, but maybe more like 32. It's super gay. It's my second favorite in the series.
I absolutely love that because, and hold on, let me turn my lights up real quick because I realize it's pretty low. There we go. Lighting adjustment, everybody. No, it's so funny because I feel like outside of the queer community, this is everyone's like least favorite Chucky movie.
I agree
But
with you on that. Yeah.
inside of the queer community, I have yet to find a queer person that doesn't love this movie.
I don't think I have either. And I'm not saying I don't love it. I just happen to like Bride of Chucky a little bit more. But there's a lot to be said for how self-aware it is. And I think that that's hysterical.
I would agree a million times over. Oh, and speaking of self-aware, I forgot to mention, everybody, if you're watching this video, I'm half-baked right now. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term half-baked, I'm like partially in drag, but not like fully in drag. I'm not wearing a wig. I'm not wearing my tits. I'm just kind of chilling here, having a good time. I felt like it was a props.
Oh, it totally is. Plus, it's too hot for hair. Are you kidding me?
Tell me about it. Oh my God. Last week, I got a last minute gig with the Boy Diva. Do you know the Boy Diva, Donnie?
I don't think we've ever met.
So Boy Diva is like a wrestling drag queen, and they hit me up
Ooh.
last week, and they were just like, "Hey, do you want to do this gig? Just come in, do a number, do a lip sync battle." And this was my first time doing a lip sync battle. First off, so I was terrified. And they were just like, preferably keep it like wrestling related. So I went full 80s trashy like aerobics like instructor. It was I loved it actually. It was so trashy.
Iconic. Perfect.
But the hair was so freaking hot. You have no idea how happy I was to rip that off of my head during my number. Y'all,
Who
it
needs
was.
a reveal? You just need to get that hot wig off your head in this humidity. Are you kidding me?
Mhm. Well, thankfully, I did have. It was part of a reveal. Like I was just
Oh,
like,
it was for a reveal. Excellent.
it was strategic. Yeah. So I spray painted my hair underneath, so it was like bright green, still fit the theme. But this
Mhm.
hair, it was big and teased and pink, and it was swallowing my neck, and I was sweating all over the place. So yeah, I could not wait for that reveal. But what wasn't isn't intentional. My heel broke 30 seconds into the lip sync battle. And when I say broke, I don't mean a cute little no, the entire sole of my boot came off.
Oh, wow.
It was wild. So that was when I was just like, you know what? This is my first lip sync battle. I don't care what the outcome is. I'm just gonna go feral. I'm going to embrace the chaos that has already fallen upon me.
Yes.
And the crowd loved it, and I won.
And you won. Congratulations.
Yeah, me and the queen I was up against were joking, just like, oh yeah, it was like totally a penny win. I don't think so.
Ooh,
I can
wow.
perform the house down, but
Of course you can. Even with one heel.
yes, with one boot.
Mhm.
Anyway, you talking about how it's too hot for hair made me think about that. So I just had to share
Far
that
too
little
hot.
tidbit of information with everybody. But yeah, so I'm half baked right now, and I'm very comfortable. And honestly, I kind of like it. There's something that I love about a drag artist, like not fully in drag, like with a backwards cap, but like painted like this. I would just go out like this.
You should. You're in Brooklyn. You'll be fine.
That's true. That's very, very true. Oh gosh. Anyway, so many tangents already, Donnie.
I know. How are we going to get through this? This
Uh,
movie, in and of itself, is one giant tangent.
that's true. Okay, so we're on brand. We're on theme. We're good to go. Do you have any tangents that you want to throw into the pot before we jump into my fun little factoids?
Um, nothing at the moment that I can think of, but I'm sure as you're talking, I will come up with one.
Please feel free just to be like, oh, tangent. I'll be like, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So next, I think I want to talk a little bit about some production stuff, spill some tea or bitch the pot, as I love to say.
It's the
Um,
plot.
bitch the pot, baby. That's my favorite term. Instead of like spill the tea, it's bitch the pot.
I've not heard bitch the pot, but I'm going to absolutely start using that.
It's okay, so I saw it on the internet, so it's up for grabs whether or not it's actually true. But I read this thing about how it was Victorian speak for like pouring tea, for like brewing some tea. It
Oh,
was called bitching the pot. So I'm just like, girl, bitch the pot. Why not? Embrace it. So let's bitch the pot together, everybody.
let's hashtag bitch the pot.
Yes. So Seed of Chucky was released in 2004, and it was the last Chucky movie to be released in theaters.
Wow, it was really.
Yeah, because Curse and
Oh,
Cult, uh, those ones were straight to video or whatever, uh,
mhm.
which is wild because those ones are great. Great,
I
great
think
movie.
so too. I would have seen those in the theater.
I would have loved to have seen them in the theater. But
Mhm.
anyway, this is also Sweet Daddy Don Mancini's directorial debut.
Finally.
Mhm, I know. I think that's, of course, obviously, that's one of the reasons why it's gay. Because
Oh
he
yeah.
not only wrote it, but he directed it.
Mhm.
Let's see
He's
what
got
else
his hands all up in that.
he does, and aren't we happy? Because he swings big. I love that about him. He swings
Mhm.
fucking big, and he does that with this movie.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we made it further than we usually do before you mentioned him by name.
It's because I got distracted by like my wrestling gig and my broken heel and stuff. Trust, if I didn't go on those tangents, it would have been like the third thing out of my mouth, and hopefully the first thing in my mouth. Nope. Oh, sorry.
Nope. Oh no. Oops. This is a family show.
Oh goodness, that's the second horny comment we've gotten today, and we're only what 10 minutes in.
If even.
All right. So we have Glenn Glenda, who is voiced by Billy Boyd, who is
Billy Boyd,
yeah,
Lord of the Rings fame. Love that guy.
exactly for all my nerds out there. You can enjoy.
Mhm. For your nerds. Yeah.
He does
Hi,
a great
nerd.
job though. I love the sweet earnestness that he brings to Glenn and Glenda. It works really well.
Oh, it's adorable. Yeah, he's got such a cute voice. I mean, he's like a forever hobbit.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. And again, it works for G. I'm just gonna call them Gigi from now on. Glenn,
Okay.
Glenda. I'm just gonna say Gigi because ultimately that's kind of how they land. So, if everyone's on board with me, I mean, you can't respond, sweet dear listeners, but we're just calling them Gigi from now on. Okay.
Jeansy. Perfect.
Yes. Fun fact: did you know that Chris Sarandon was originally approached to be in this movie? Detective
I did
Mike
not know
Norris
that.
from the first one.
Right. From the first movie, how would that have fit into this?
I don't know. I wanted to ask you, like, how do you think Chris Sarandon would have fit into this? Do you think he would have been like a meta Hollywood star, or do you think it would have been Mike Norris outside of the world of Chucky in Hollywood? Like,
Well, the idea of him being a meta Hollywood star is appealing because if he were reprising the character from the first film, I think it would stick out like a sore thumb. It wouldn't make any sense. Like, why is he here? This kind of boring cop in the middle of all these bright colors and exciting silliness that's happening. But if he had played himself playing the cop, which I wouldn't put past Don Mancini to have written into the script, that would have been pretty cool.
yeah, that's a good point. You're right. Detective Mike Norris is like a wheat thin in a bag of flaming hot Cheetos. It's
Oh,
just
but that's exactly. Those were the words I was looking for. Exactly. Mhm.
yeah. So he couldn't do it, of course, because there were scheduling conflicts. But there's a small part of me that's just like, What
What
if?
could have been.
What
Yeah.
could have been? And also speaking of what could have been, and I have mixed feelings about this not happening, but the part that Redman plays, because he's directing that movie, was originally written for Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
Yes,
different.
that is. Obviously, Quentin Tarantino like turned it down, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, I don't particularly care for Quentin Tarantino as a human being. However, I do feel like this part would have been, I feel like he would have been really good for this part. The sleazy director, like,
Oh, it fits perfectly.
yeah.
Perfect. Hmm.
So it's just like, do I want to give Quentin Tarantino space in this queer landscape that's being built? No. But do I want the opportunity for there to be like a magnifying glass held up to this man's behavior? Yes.
Absolutely. I wish there were, a parallel universe we could step into so we could just see this version of the film that could have been made.
Yeah, I'll figure out a way to make that happen. But yeah, that's the pot bitchin', I guess is
Roll
what
the
we'll call it.
bitch the pot.
Consider the pot bitched. That's all the fun information that I have for this one. So we can just jump right on into just talking about the movie. Obviously, everybody, it goes without saying, spoiler alert. And I'm just gonna throw this out here right now. Every movie that we talk about on this podcast that is not a new release is there's going to be spoilers. I don't
It's
feel,
it's spoiled. Right,
yeah,
right.
not to be a bitch, but I don't think I have to say like, hey, spoiler alerts for this movie that came out 21 years ago.
We're 21 years ago. My God.
Yeah.
We're all
Uh,
getting so old. Mostly me.
no, I think we all are getting old.
I guess it does happen simultaneously, but
Yes, we're all in tandem here. Yeah, so needless to say, spoiler warning right off the jump. We open up this film with semen. Just
yes. Uh-huh. Which reminded me of the movie Look Who's Talking with John Travolta and Kirstie Alley. Mhm.
oh, that aged like milk.
Ooh, yeah,
That
no
cast
kidding.
did kind of age like milk, unfortunately. That sucks because I did like that movie. But you're right, the Look Who's Talking.
The whole opening sequence is like not shot for shot, but it's certainly very familiar, very reminiscent of Look Who's Talking.
Very. When I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, it's the ejaculate conception.
The ejaculate conception. Well, that's another hashtag for this episode. That's pretty great.
Hashtag ejaculate conception, baby. Yeah, no, we get some CG spermies. This is clearly how GG is coming to be. It's fun, I think this opening sequence alone lets you know everything that you need to know about what this movie's gonna be.
What you're about to get yourself into. Yes, definitely.
Yes, 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 yes. And of course, and then from there's that whole scene with it's like the Halloween homage with like that nuclear family.
Right, right. With Gigi waking up and being presented to a little girl, and the girl's like totally disappointed with this ugly doll that she gets. And then we
Yes.
get to watch from Gigi's perspective as they go about the house and they kill them all. Dad, see, I
Mhm.
feel like I still need to say spoiler alert, even though we just said we're not going to say that.
You
But
all
yeah,
already
you're
got a
right.
spoiler alert.
Yeah, I don't have to say it again. It is very Halloween.
Also, I'm pretty sure this is the only movie that has nudity in the Chucky franchise, if I'm not mistaken. Because the mama falls out of the shower and it's Titty City.
You might be right. I feel like I saw boobs in Bride of Chucky, but it might have just been wishful thinking.
They were in the corset, I think.
They
It's
were
just
in the course.
it's hard to have Jennifer Tilly on screen and not think boobs.
Yeah, yeah. It's entirely possible that I was just getting ahead of myself.
Maybe, but yeah, we get two sets of titties. We get this one and then we get some doll titties later with Tiffany, which is super funny. But yeah, this whole sequence so unserious, especially with how it ends.
And now you're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants!
Poor sensitive sweet Gigi.
I know these nightmares, like I would hate to have nightmares like that. Just to be just read and shat on by a little British girl. God.
The murdering part is totally cool. It's the part with the British kid that's not so good. Yeah.
Exactly. We meet Gigi, who is very clearly going through an existential crisis. Like right off the bat, we're introduced to this sweet but confused character, this new addition to the Chucky landscape. How do you feel about Gigi at this point?
Fascinated, curious to see what happens next. A little concerned about the made in China sticker or whatever
Oh,
it
the
is, the
Made in
brand.
Japan one, yeah.
Made in Japan, that's it. I'm a little worried about the Made in Japan brand, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think the last time we talked about this movie, we brought this up. Just this oh yikes.
Right. It's a little yikes.
Problematic. Yeah, which it's kind of like the Heart and Dabala because that Made in Japan stamp is how Gigi recognizes that Chucky is their father because after this whole well, first off, Gigi's in like a ventriloquist thing in the UK, it appears, right? Is that it?
Somewhere over there, because they have a sequence where they run away from the evil ventriloquist guy and they get on a plane and they do like the plane is flying across the ocean and it's styled like the Indiana Jones movies where you see like the little dotted line behind the plane as it travels to Hollywood, California, so Gigi can seek out their parents.
You know what's funny about that is our references, like how completely opposite end of the spectrum is. Because when I see that plane, I think of America's Next Top Model when the top 5 or 6 finalists get to go to the international destination and it shows this shitty little plane with like pictures of them in the windows, like flying to Thailand.
Oh, I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm just like, yeah, 1986, this movie. You don't remember?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Indiana Jones. I lived for America's Next Top Model. That shit's so messy. So, Tyra's a menace. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
yeah. I watched the first couple of seasons, but then I was like, okay, once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all.
I don't know. I think they're worth it. They're so much
All
fun.
right.
I'm looking yellow.
Yellow.
Do I look yellow?
You don't look yellow to me.
Okay. Maybe it's just because my chest is pink. Whatever.
That could
Um,
be.
that could very well be it. So back to the Japan stamp birthmark that Gigi
Right.
has. The reason Gigi sees Chucky on TV is because of the whole meta clusterfuck that's being built for us in Hollywood right now with this Chucky Goes Psycho movie that's being made with the real dolls from the actual murders from Hackensack, New Jersey.
Right. They've traveled from Hackensack to Hollywood, as so many of us would like to do.
Mhm. Again, like the number one thing that I think of with this movie is how unserious it is because I think about the fact that there's a news crew on set while they're filming this movie and the fact that we have those real dolls from these murder scenes like that are unsolved and then we have of course Jennifer Tilly back on our screen, which I feel like that's the number one reason we went meta with this movie is so that we can get physically Jennifer Tilly back on screen for this movie.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it. Because having her there as Tiffany is wonderful. But being able to physically see Jennifer Tilly, and then to have Jennifer Tilly playing this heightened version of herself, which is already pretty hot, is just absolutely brilliant. A brilliant decision by Don Mancini to do this because it immediately shows us that we are in this world where like anything can happen. We could be seeing Hollywood or we could be seeing something real. We don't know. In fact, the beginning sequence of this Hollywood movie where we first see Chucky, we're not necessarily sure that it's a movie. We watch Chucky and Tiffany kill a man dressed as Santa Claus in a big snowy cemetery. When I think Santa, I think cemetery. And the doll begins to malfunction and someone yells cut and they have to go fix this doll. So already we can't really trust what it is that we've seen. Are we watching reality or are we watching this movie again?
Mhm. Going back to that heightened version of Jennifer Tilly, and I think one of the things that I love so much about this movie is I can see such a close and comfortable relationship between Jennifer Tilly and Don Mancini on this screen. I can tell that they are really good friends, really good collaborators, and that they're both down to clown because
Right.
Jennifer Tilly takes the piss out of herself. She's
Yes.
really mean about herself in this role, and it's so fucking good.
Mhm. And you don't want to do that if you're not in an environment where you feel safe. They make several jokes about her weight, several jokes about her voice. I mean, she is just leaning into mocking herself the way that the press actually did, when her star was rising. Everybody was like, who's this lady with the voice,
Mhm.
And she's just like, it's me. I'm the lady with the voice.
And I love that she's owning it. Some of my favorite moments in this, she's like, "I'm a fucking Oscar nominee for Christ's sakes. What does it take to get someone to take me seriously?" And then the Chucky doll turns and goes, "Nice tits." And she's like, "Thank you." And it's just so stupid and
Mhm.
so funny. And that was in the conversation with, her assistant Joan. Do you think Joan is in love with Jennifer Tilly?
It could certainly be read that way.
I think
Um,
so.
yeah, there could certainly be, because there does seem to be a lot of judgment, and Joan comes off as like a very judgmental Christian woman, which we all know is certainly the first step toward homosexuality. So it's entirely possible.
Well, the way I read Joan, I think it's clear that Joan holds Jennifer Tilly in a high regard and she has high expectations of her. And to me, that reads as like Joan has put Jennifer Tilly on a pedestal because she is in love with her. And she is trying to sculpt Jennifer Tilly into the version of Jennifer Tilly that she thinks that she loves. Does that make sense?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, that's how I read Joan. And the reason I read Joan that way is because I have been that person. I've been that person that has been like doting for somebody and I have been hypercritical of them because I saw them a certain way and when they were not behaving in that way that I wanted for them because I saw them as such a good person, I immediately kind of like went into criticizing. So, I will say a part of that is because I do see a little bit of my younger doting crybaby in Joan and how she responds to Jennifer Tilly, especially because she's the one that writes Jennifer Tilly all of her fan mail.
She's writing Jennifer Tilly's fan mail. Yep, yep.
And I think she does that because Jennifer Tilly's bitching about how no one takes her seriously. One of the things she says is, I don't even get fan mail. And then that later down the movie, we see Joan writing fan mail for Jennifer Tilly. To me, that means
Because
that she's in love with her. She listens to everything that she says. She loves her.
she thinks she can fix her.
Mhm. I can fix her. But it's a really fun meta establishment. So we talked about the Indiana Jones plane or the America's Next Top Model plane. Gigi ends up in just knowing where to find these animatronic puppets on set. Whips out the heart of Damballa, the once before used heart of Damballa.
That's right. The thing that we didn't know existed until the last movie.
Yes, and brings Chucky and Tiffany back to life.
With our fantastic chant.
And this one is such so the chant, like as we all know, it is like Ade due Dambala, give me the power I beg of you. This one, all Gigi says is Ade due Dambala awake. That's it. Like
Wow.
we are entering like the new millennium here. We are entering the screen time attention span. We don't have
Yeah,
time
we
for
got
all of that. None of
we
that.
got places to be.
We're spark notesing this, all right? It's so short.
The way this movie is so disjointed with how short some of the scenes are, it definitely feels that way. It feels like we were having our shorter attention spans played to.
It really does, because even like, and I'm sure you're having the same experience that I'm having right now. Like as we're talking through this, I'm like, wait, what order
What
happens?
what
What
happens
happens?
next? Yeah.
Yeah, listen, y'all, watch this movie and you'll understand what we're talking about. Like it's one of those things where the breadcrumbs are. It's like you grabbed a fistful of them and just like threw them with reckless abandon instead of strategically placing them in a row. That's
I
how it
don't
feels.
know.
But yeah, Chucky and Tiffany do come back to life, and they immediately kill Tony Gardner. He's the actual. Oh God, is he the head of special effects on the Chucky series, or
I think
is
so.
he the head puppeteer? He's done a lot for the effects for this film, and he is a producer on this. Well, oh, he was a producer on the series.
Oh, did he pass away?
No, the series got canceled.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
I went
sorry.
to death, cancellation. I mean, what's worse?
It's I did kind of sound like that. I'm sorry. Before the show got canceled, he was a producer on it. But yeah, they behead him and immediately start making out as they're being showered with blood. It's so hot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what else you gonna do?
And then we get to see them react to parenthood, which I think is a very interesting thing to witness with these two. Because in the previous movie, we were talking a lot about how like queer coded they were and how they operated so differently as this exciting, wild couple. And now here they are finding out that they're parents.
And it's interesting because they both make a different assumption about Gigi, where Chucky is convinced that this is a boy and Tiffany is convinced that this is a girl. And they're both, neither of them is making a joke at it. It's not funny. They just see their spawn completely different.
Yeah, they're just arguing back and forth, and that narrative carries throughout the whole film, where Tiffany is wanting Gigi to be a girl and Chucky is wanting Gigi to be a boy. Like, that never really gets resolved until the very end of this movie. So it is planting that seed. That was an
I
accident.
see what you did there.
That was, that was a total accident. But they are planting that seed for, you know, this conversation around parenting a child that is non-binary, essentially. And it's really interesting. And Gigi doesn't really seem to have much of opinion on it either.
No, not at all.
Hmm. I don't think Gigi really thought about it, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I don't think it was something that was on Gigi's radar. Yeah, Gigi seems okay with it. And of course, you know, Tiffany wanting Gigi to be Glenda and Chucky wanting Gigi to be Glenn changes the way that they parent Gigi, you know, Tiffany being a little bit more coddling and Chucky being a little more like, come on, champ, you know, that kind of thing. And it's an interesting dichotomy to witness these two dolls doing because it's so heteronormative, you know, it's so cisgender. And we're, you know, it's comical in a sense to see these two murderous dolls adhering to that kind of mindset.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. It's really funny. And I think it's a reminder that, like, at the end of the day, like, this is a family drama above anything else. Like,
Right.
this is a family drama. And then secondary, it's a comedy. And then tertiary, it's a horror movie, which is why I think a lot of people were disappointed when it came out because they were expecting
Right.
a horror movie when we got a family dramedy.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it has deaths in it, but it's not a slasher flick.
No,
First and
not at
foremost.
all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say at all. What's interesting about it, and we had a little taste of it in Bride of Chucky, but the huge focus is the family dynamic and these relationships between these dolls and their relationships with killing because you know Gigi is just like, why do you kill people? I don't like it. I don't want to be a killer. And so Tiffany, being the coddling person that she is like, we have an addiction. And she starts treating it like an addiction, goes through the whole 12-step program. Well, she doesn't do the whole thing. She just does a couple of the steps.
What is the book that she needs? It's like How to Do 12 Steps in 7 Steps or something like that.
Something like
Somebody
that.
is
It's
hanging on my
wild.
butts.
But Jennifer Tilly finds the dead body of Tony Gardner when she's trying to sneak a Snickers. And Tiffany is in love. Tiffany is in love with Jennifer Tilly, which I think is another meta, funny, hilarious thing.
Oh, it's brilliant. If I had a little mini me doll, I would want it to be madly in love with me.
So this is when they decide, you know what? Tiffany's going to be Jennifer Tilly. She's going to get her body. And then Chucky's going to get Redman's body. And then they're going to figure out a way to make a baby so they can get Gigi into a human body as well. And they plan this while they're in the back of a limo with like some of the cheesiest background effects. And like, you know, as they're driving through the car.
Like what's clearly like a green screen in the back.
Yeah. Part of me wonders, is this stylistic or is it, I feel like it's a choice from Don Mancini. It all feels so superficial, which I think is in itself kind of a critique on Hollywood. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. I think he's making it clear without really saying that it's a critique on Hollywood. I mean, there are other aspects of this where Hollywood is being skewered, where, say, you know, Jennifer Tilly's trying to leave the studio and reporters are shouting questions at her. And I think one of them says, Jennifer Tilly, what's your birth date? Give us the exact day. Or how old are you really? Give us the exact birth date. You know, because Hollywood is obsessed with superficial things like that. So I think that he's skewering it as much as he can here and there. And part of that is probably the awful background that he chose to have as it, you know, the limo's driving through Hollywood.
That paparazzi scene has some of the best background dialogue. It's so funny. Like, there's that one stood out to me. There's the one that's like, Jennifer Tilly, tell us about this rumor about your like your chocolate addiction or something like that.
Mhm.
And then John Waters, this is when we get to see John Waters, and he is relentless. Very Perez Hilton coded, I feel.
Oh yeah, that's accurate. Yeah.
Which, I mean, fuck Perez Hilton, like, genuinely. But
Mhm.
he says something like, what happened? And Jennifer Tilly's just like, I don't want to talk about it. He's like, draw us a picture. Oh, what's wrong? You're not an artist. Like, it's so fucking funny and so bitchy. I live for it. Oh, Jennifer Tilly, by the way, has decided that she's going to sleep with Redman to get the role of the Virgin Mary, which is in itself hilarious. And there's that whole predatory thing that Redman is doing where he's just staring at her tits the whole time she's reading with him.
Right. And she invites Redman back to her place so that she can try and seduce him in order to win the role. And he is all for it.
Exactly. Of course he's all for it. He's a man.
He's a man.
He's a man. But she's going back to the house and she's planning all this. And Tiffany's just like, oh my God, she's a complete slut.
That's right. With the voice of an angel.
With the voice of an angel. And you know what's great about this? I do care a lot more about the human story of this than I do about Bride of Chucky because of Jennifer Tilly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not?
How could you not? Yeah. I love that she's taking the piss out of herself, that she's
Mhm.
like whoring herself out, quote unquote, for this role. And it's just, it's so brilliant.
Yeah, it's awfully clever. And for some reason, I'm trying to think of another actress that could have pulled it off with the same. It seems effortless, and I don't know that anybody else comes to mind.
The only person that comes to my mind, and I think it's just because she's just naturally a comedian, like I don't think she has to do anything, is Parker Posey.
Parker Posey. I was going to say Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah. So Chucky and Tiffany, they decide not to kill Chucky reluctantly.
Reluctantly.
But he does that thing where he's like, oh, I won't kill. And he crosses his fingers behind his back.
Do people still do that?
I was just thinking about that. That feels like such a 90s, early 2000s thing.
Yeah, it feels very dated.
It feels very dated. Sound off in the comments. Does anybody still?
That's right. Comment below.
Yeah, just let me know. Do people still cross their fingers behind their back, unironically? Yeah. So, there's the seduction scene, and then Chucky jerking off into a cup.
Yes.
Because they're gonna impregnate Jennifer Tilly. Because Tiffany doesn't want to get pregnant again.
Who can blame her?
Honestly, I don't. This is where we get the doll titties. Tiffany pulls down her little doll dress, and it's just full on nips, baby.
Yeah, straight up doll titties. I wonder if there hadn't already been nudity in the movie, what the movie would have been rated based on the doll boob.
Well, I think this was originally rated NC-17.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that. I'm pretty sure it was rated NC-17. And I don't know what they changed. Clearly, it wasn't the titties. It wasn't the nudity.
No, they let that still happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Things used to be weird. Like if you used blood that was too red looking, it would get you a higher rating than if you used less realistic looking blood. I don't know. I think the blood in this, I think they're all pretty realistic, but who knows what the rating committee or whomever it is makes those decisions. Who knows what they think?
Well, and let's be honest. There's just some people who will automatically view queer content as more obscene. Point blank, period.
Oh, for sure. I think it's a pretty accurate assessment.
Yeah. But either way, they had to cut out some things, and they didn't cut out the boobies. But what I do find funny is Chucky, when he's jerking off, he jerks off to a Fangoria magazine.
Yes, he goes through the magazines in the bathroom and picks Fangoria. Mm-hmm.
And all while this is happening, we have Jennifer Tilly is seducing Redman, and then Tiffany ends up knocking them out to inseminate her, and John Waters is doing his paparazzi thing, taking all kinds of photos and stuff, and Chucky clocks it.
Chucky does clock it.
Mm-hmm.
And then see, this is where I'm getting confused because everything jumps around so much. But I know that Chucky wakes Gigi up and says, we're going to go on a father-son trip or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to Pete Peterson's home where his darkroom is, and he's developing the pictures that he just took at Jennifer Tilly's house. And Chucky's plan is to kill him And Gigi tries to step in and prevent it at the last minute because Gigi is still anti-violence. And it ends up that Pete Peterson ends up falling down and getting covered in, what is it, some kind of solution?
It's like some sort of chemical that like melts the fuck out of him.
Melts his skin, yeah. And
Mhm.
Chucky assumes that this was done on purpose. And it's like, I can't remember what he said, that a boy or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
you're a natural. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
His heart swells with pride.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing Chucky fall into this father dynamic. Obviously, it's parallel to the father who wants their son to be into sports and the
Mm.
pressure that comes along with that. And I find that a very interesting dynamic in this movie is like Chucky's expectations versus what Gigi wants. Because even though there is a point in the movie where Gigi says that they think they want to be a boy, I still don't fully believe that 100%. And I feel like part of that is because of the pressure from Chucky.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with what you said about Chucky being the same as a father who's like, I played high school football, you've got to play high school football, that kind of thing. Only in this situation, it happens to be murder. And, it definitely wants to push Gigi to be oh gosh, what's the phrase? I want to say a chin off the old goat. That's not it.
Oh, a chip off the old block.
A chin off the old goat. What the hell is that?
But let's talk with a chain off the old goat.
Chin, like a chin.
A chin off the old goat. Never heard that before. Totally.
Neither have I. I don't think anybody's ever put those words together in that order before. A chip off the old block, not a chin off the old goat. I don't know. Something's wrong with me. I got to get checked out.
Where did that come from?
Couldn't tell you. The words kind of sounded the same, but let's blame long COVID.
Okay. Either way, I'm kind of obsessed.
You're obsessed.
I might just use that instead. It's more fun. Chucky wants Gigi to be a chin off the old goat.
A chin off the old goat. Yep. I'm glad everybody just got to witness that. You're welcome.
We made history. Everybody, all right. We're new slang here. We're bitching the pot. Chin off the old goat. We need one more by the end
chin off the old goat. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Goodness. But yes, to your point, yeah, he wants Gigi to be a chin off the old goat.
Yeah, I'll never live this down. It's going on the internet for posterity, just in case.
Yes, it is. I do love that there's an irony and like a satire, and obviously because it is so meta, I do love that that kind of family dynamic is explored in this movie, but like murder is taking the place of everything, right? Like it's not a parent quitting alcohol or quitting this, that, and the other for their kid. It's a parent quitting murder. It's not that, I want my son to follow my footsteps and play football. It's that, no, murder. I just love that that is how it manifested itself in this movie. I think it's really fun and really clever and also relatable. Like, obviously, I don't think my father ever wanted me to be a murderer, but I can certainly relate, especially as a non-binary person and like as somebody who knew at an early age that I was not hyper masculine at all. I can definitely relate to that feeling that Gigi has in that scene where Chucky is so proud of them and they're just like, this is not what I want at all. Super relatable, I think.
And, the fact that it was written by a gay man is, very noticeable.
Absolutely. And then along with this, Tiffany has a slip up because, well, hold on. No. Oh yeah, while this is happening, this is when Tiffany impregnates Jennifer Tilly with a turkey baster.
Well, she kills Redman first, right?
No, she doesn't kill Redman until the next day. Because see, it's all over the place. Because it's like, yeah, Jennifer Tilly gets impregnated with the turkey baster, and then the next day she wakes up pregnant. It's a voodoo pregnancy, so it's
voodoo pregnancy.
She's already like 9 months, and then Jennifer Tilly tells Redman. Redman's like, "No, I got a vasectomy," and then that's when Tiffany kills her.
You are correct. See, it's all very confusing.
It really is. But some notable points, I love a lot of the dialogue in this movie. One of my favorite lines is when Chucky and Tiffany are watching the news the next morning after they impregnate Jennifer Tilly. They're watching a news story with Martha Stewart getting arrested. And Tiffany's like, they're executing Martha Stewart this morning. Are they actually executing her like in this world, or is this just like Tiffany being a dumbass?
Nope. They actually execute her. I think earlier, much earlier when they're in the limousine, I feel like I remember hearing something about that on the radio, but I could be totally. It's just there's so much information to gather and absorb in this movie.
Mhm.
That even though I watched it like 16 times in preparation for this, I'm still having trouble remembering the order of things. It's
Yes.
which is exactly what you want when you're watching or listening to a podcast about a movie. You want somebody who's not sure what they're talking about.
Well, this is why we decided that we're not going to stick too strictly to the order of events here. We're talking overall themes. So if you all want an exact rundown of the movie, just watch the movie. Come
Just
on.
watch the movie.
It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. It's all over the place. And maybe the way that we're talking about it may come across as like, oh, we hate that it's all over the place. It's like, no, we're just trying to be able to communicate it effectively. And that's the hard part.
Just watch it. Yeah, just watch it and then listen to us, or do it the other way. I think
Mhm.
you did mention Tiffany knocking Redman and Jennifer Tilly out, and I can't remember because I think we see it twice, but the thing that she uses to knock Jennifer Tilly out is an award that says most improved. Like I don't know if it's supposed to be for film or what. Obviously it's an acting award, but I believe it says most improved, and I think that's just her taking another shot for the sake of the movie at herself, and it just cracks me up.
Yep. Oh god, that I didn't clock that. That's so funny. And that's in the same scene where Tiffany's like, God, she's fat. She hasn't even
Yes.
like she's not even pregnant yet.
And they talk about Bound too, which if you haven't seen the movie Bound, it's a slight departure from this series, but like Gina Gershon, Jennifer Tilly,
Mhm.
yay. Please watch
Mhm.
Bound.
Do it. Yeah, they reference it a lot. I think Don Mancini does that thing that I do as a gay best friend with all of my girlfriends. Is like there's just some things that I'll latch on that I'll just relentlessly joke about or bring up or read them over or something like that. And I feel like Don does that with Bound. He will not let Well, first off, he loved it before he even cast Jennifer Tilly in Bride of Chucky. That movie's one of the reasons why he wanted her in this. But the fact that he will fit Bound into the script any way he can. And we see that a lot in the series too, which is fucking hilarious.
Oh, in the series, he brings half the cast back for an episode, which
Oh,
is, I think, my favorite episode in the entire series.
I would agree. The murder mystery party of it all. Oh, so good. Listen, everybody, tangent. We're not going to be covering the TV series on this season. Maybe in the future, I would love to, but it would be a lot to cover. So do yourself a favor, if you haven't already, watch the TV series. It is
Yeah.
so delightfully unhinged. Oh,
It falls along the same lines of the way this movie is. Very different than Holt. You know, it comes back to this kind of meta self-awareness thing again.
but with a little bit more refinement and direction, I think. And I think that's why it does so well. But yeah, they bring it up because when she wakes up pregnant and they go to like tie her to the bed so she can give birth, they're on the phone with Joan. And it's this that whole funny back and forth. Again, another dig at Jennifer Tilly's voice where Tiffany's on the line, Joan's on the line, and Jennifer Tilly is on the line. And while Jennifer Tilly's screaming in the background, Joan's like, "Oh, I hear you screaming." And Tiffany's like, "Oh no, Bound is on cable. Gina Gershon is fingering me."
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, that is definitely a line written by a gay man. I'm not gonna lie. That 100%. But yeah, I'm trying to are there any other important details? So Tiffany kills Redman. She relapses. There's that really funny scene where she's on the phone with the person who's just like, Rome wasn't built in a day. We all mess up. And so she takes that as permission to kill Redman. That's a funny scene too.
And the scene where she is trying to make amends with her 12-step program. So she calls the wife of a victim that she's killed and is apologizing for this horrific murder, but it's obviously traumatizing the woman on the other line. And, she feels so much better for having gotten it off of her chest, but it's another ridiculous scene.
Yeah, and I think like going back to our conversation last week on camp and that quality of just honesty and like groundedness and earnestness to it. I think that those two scenes highlight that really well in this movie because some of
Mhm.
it is like so over the top and absurd, and I feel like intentionally so, like the Britney Spears moment. But I think about this conversation that she's having on the phone with this advisor for the 12 for addiction basically, and she just is so rooted in like a genuine like, no, I don't want to do this, I'm so scared, I can't go to a meeting, and like and I think that that groundedness in those moments like really kicks it up a notch for me.
Yeah, you have to
um
take it seriously.
so yeah, she kills Redman, Jennifer Tilly, they have her tied to the bed. Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about,
Hmm.
which is fine, the fucking driver, Stan.
Oh, that guy.
He's just there to be
Yeah,
a meatbag. Yeah, they get
yeah,
him there.
he's there for 90 seconds, the limo driver that is in love with Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah. So after they kill Redman, basically, we just needed a body to come in and so that Chucky could try to take it over. But it doesn't matter because plot twist, spoiler alert, they end up not going into the bodies. But first, with Gigi, we finally have a revelation. So like when Joan comes in, because obviously she was scared or she of the phone call, when Joan gets killed, who kills Joan?
Do we see it in that moment?
We see it's like a fake out. We see a blonde hair
Right. We see a
and a wedding
blonde.
dress,
Mhm.
and we're led to think that it's Tiffany again, but it turns out to be Glenda.
Glenda. And this is where I feel complicated emotions surrounding this whole thing. Which isn't to say that I don't still very much enjoy it. But yeah, we get this surprise. I'm a murderous woman.
Yeah,
And
very.
psycho?
What's the movie from the 80s with, was it Dustin Hoffman or one of those people?
The
Dangerous
Silence
Killer?
of the Lamb?
No. There's
No.
there's a movie in the 80s
The
that,
Crying Game.
let me pull it up real quick. Dress to Kill, that's what it is.
Oh, Breath to Kill. I was gonna get there.
I knew there was a D in there somewhere.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's very Dress to Kill, and I'm with you here. It kind of, for me, it falls in the similar camp of Dress to Kill and like Sleepaway Camp
Sleepaway
and
Camp is another one.
Psycho, where we have this vilification of a trans person and having this trans identity or like this non-binary identity, whatever the case may be, we're having that used as a plot device for why somebody is dangerous. It leads to perceptions of dishonesty when it comes to gender expression.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel very similarly to you. Like, I love that Gigi is non-binary and that there's kind of like two parts to them, but I
Mhm.
don't like the implications that come with that.
Yeah, this movie, in my opinion, swings and misses a little bit with this. As you said, there's a vilification of trans people or genderqueer people or non-binary people that Hollywood has been doing forever. We already mentioned so many movies, and then there's like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Naked
Oh
Gun
my God.
33 and a third. Where there's usually a beautiful woman that the main character is romantically, sexually interested in, and then they find out that it's a trans person or a trans woman. And I think in Ace Ventura, he's like vomiting, and it's just, those movies obviously they're not horror movies, but
It's the same
it just
sentiment though,
feels,
yeah.
yeah, it's this disgusting. And there's another horror movie called Cherry Falls where they do
Oh,
the same thing.
wait
Do
a
you remember Cherry
second.
Falls
I
with
remember
Brittany
Cherry
Murphy?
Falls. Brittany Murphy. Oh my gosh, I miss her so much. Every single day
I
I
do
miss Brittany
too.
Murphy. I remember that movie. I don't remember the trans storyline. It's been probably like 15, 20 years since I've watched Cherry Falls.
Yeah, probably you see it once, that's kind of enough. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
fine movie.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's just this ongoing thing of like, oh, look, the boy is actually a girl, or, this person is actually transgender and usually puts on a dress, and that's when the murder happens. So it's like, we're kind of beating a dead horse with this awful stereotype, but because this movie is so self-aware and tongue-in-cheek and written by a queer person, it like kind of slides a little bit under the radar of being super duper transphobic. and is actually just like a little transphobic instead.
Yeah, and part of me thinks because it's a horror movie, that just feels like the way to go with Gigi. I don't think it was used in the same way that we saw it in other horror movies like Psycho and Sleepaway Camp, where this identity is the reason why. I think it's just more so Don exploring that duality within Gigi and obviously being related to Chucky, that genetic transfer of maliciousness and the need to kill. And then, of course, we do see throughout the movie, Gigi's having these little tics, like these eye twitches and stuff. So I think it's just unfortunate that it played the way that it did.
Yeah, that it comes that way, right? Because there's definitely the predisposition to be a murderer, and there's also the genetic trait of being non-binary. It's just the way that those two things get married in this movie, where it's like, okay, but it's something I wouldn't like to see replayed now in 2025. I think the intention behind it was not evil. It wasn't to vilify trans people. Plus, I just have a little soft spot in my heart for Gigi. So it's just one of those things where when I watch it now, I'm like, oh, I don't know that aged particularly well. But it feels like a small complaint in order to get the rest of this fantastic movie out.
I agree. I think this movie, at least for me, like it impacted me, was this idea of sometimes I want to be a boy, sometimes I want to be a girl. Why can't I be both? I think it was very bold of this mainstream horror franchise to introduce a character who was gender non-conforming and non-binary. Like not strictly trans, not strictly cisgender, but this more fluid relationship to gender that I don't think was I don't remember it being anywhere in mainstream culture at that time.
No, I'm struggling to remember that. I don't think there really was. Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, I know for me, like the first time I ever really started hearing conversations around, more gender fluidity and non-binary identities was probably like around like 2014 is when I think it really started becoming a bigger conversation. And this came out 10 years prior to that. So even though we do have that unfortunate turnout with Glenda being the murderous side of Gigi, I do want to give some good points for having the guts to firmly plant a non-binary character in a mainstream horror movie in one of the meanest decades of pop culture.
Yes. I think if I'd been a young person who got to hear the words, why can't I be both? I would have been like, wow, that would have resonated with. So you're right that it took bravery to put this into a film like that. And it probably did do some people really good just to see themselves represented, even if it happened to be this murderous character.
I would agree. I think it's an access point. When I saw this, I didn't fully know what it meant to be non-binary. I didn't know what my relationship to my gender was. And it was just kind of, it was a nice thing to hear and just be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's an option.
So I do like that. And then they end up doing that thing where they split Gigi into two because Jennifer Tilly ends up having twins. So they're like, we're going to put Glenn in this one and Glenda in this one.
Voodoo, you can do whatever you want.
That voodoo that you do. Another thing that I like, and I do feel like this is also very queer coded, is because everyone's freaking out because the police are coming or whatever, and Tiffany really wants to be Jennifer Tilly, and Chucky's just like, fuck it. If this is what it takes to be human, I'm done. I actually like being a killer doll. And he starts to embrace his body, and I feel like that is also a very kind of like queer storyline for Chucky.
You're right, it totally is. I mean, it's not one that you would think, I want to write something queer. I'm going to write about a doll who eventually becomes okay with being a doll. But it is very queer coded. Yeah. Finally being content in your own skin or rubber, whatever he's made out of.
Yeah, exactly. Rubber. He is all rubber. We learned that last time.
That's right.
And then, so just to walk everybody through the end of the movie, Chucky decides, hey, I don't want to do it. Ends up getting killed by Gigi. gets like chopped to bits and pieces. Tiffany
Mhm.
does manage to enter Jennifer Tilly's body and move Glenn and Glenda into their respective twin bodies. And that's Seed of Chucky, right? Did I miss anything?
That's pretty much it. I mean, at the end, we see a birthday party for the two twins, for Glenn and Glenda. And it turns out that the Glenda, no, it's Glenn is the really sweet twin and Glenda's the really scary one. And we get a birthday present for Glenn that turns out to be, is it Chucky's arm?
Yeah.
It's a piece of the mutilated Chucky. And
Mhm.
that's how it ends. So it ends with us, knowing that the three of them got put into human bodies and someone mailed Chucky's arm to Glenn. And then he pisses his pants.
You're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants!
And we're back to where we
Yes.
started.
And then with that was like, that's the last we see this movie in theaters. Like I said before, this movie really wasn't received well. Not at the time.
No, I think it was I think it was too smart for a lot of people who just didn't understand the in your face of it all, the self-awareness of it all.
Mhm.
It was confusing. And so many people that started with this franchise wanted, I think, Chucky to remain this, violent, scary, murderous doll in these straight up horror movies. And the campier it got, I think they did lose people. I think not everybody understands camp and not everybody deserves to.
I second that. I think, yes, I think this film was too smart. I think it was accidentally kind of ahead of its time. It was like unintentionally like 10 years ahead of itself.
Yeah.
I wrote down a quote from Roger Ebert. He gave it, I think, 2 out of 4 stars. And he said, Seed of Chucky is 2 movies, one wretched and the other funny, which I think is kind of what it sums it up, people's expectations of like, if you can sit back and embrace the fact that this is a funny family drama kind of movie, you'll enjoy it. If you're trying to hold on to that old notion of Chucky, you're going to hate it for sure.
I wonder what it was to him that was wretched.
Probably the editing. I mean,
Yeah, probably.
same thing that we're having issues with, it's just like this difficult to follow threading that they're doing.
Mhm.
Maybe, I don't know. Unfortunately, we can't ask him anymore.
No, we cannot. But yeah, it's was such a queer gay movie to have come out in 2004 when there was nothing else comparable to having a non-binary murderous doll character. And now I feel like if the movie had come out now, we'd be like, oh, I've seen this before. I'm already familiar with these terms and with what's going on. 2004, it's weird because it doesn't feel that long ago, but like pop culture wise, it was. And the movie just came out a little bit before we were ready for it. And I don't mean you and me. We were ready for it. I mean, the grand we, it's a shame it didn't do better, but it is a cult classic because folks like us and folks who know who John Waters is, we were like, this freaking brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. I think this, with Bride of Chucky, we were already getting that queer embrace. And I think that this is just another step forward. Like when I think about queer horror icons in general, Glenn and Glenda are one of the first ones that come to my mind because it's fresh, a new dynamic character this far into a franchise, I think is also something that's super special because a lot of times by this is the 5th movie in the franchise. At this point, you're just getting into human meatbag territory and just replaying the same old shtick. So you don't really get that opportunity in horror to get introduced to new, dynamic, complex characters the way that we did with this. There's a huge reason why it's a cult classic. And I think people who think this is the worst in the franchise should reevaluate their decision.
I think so too. Go back, watch it again with fresh eyes, and also you're wrong. So
yeah. Well, and that makes me want to ask you, because, I asked with Bride of Chucky, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on the rewatch value for Seed of Chucky.
I still think it's worth a watch once a year. I would say the rewatch value is a little less for me personally than for Bride of Chucky. I think every time you watch it, you're going to see a new nuance that you missed the first time, and you'll gain a new respect for how it was written or how it was directed, because there's just so much depth to what comes off as this goofy horror.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. For me, it can sometimes be a bit tedious getting through, and I might just be feeling that way because I watched it 2 times this morning while I was getting ready.
Right.
So, but, I think this is when I think about rewatch experiences, right? There's things where I will rewatch it to genuinely rewatch it. There's things that I
Mhm.
will rewatch to passively rewatch because it's, like, comforting to me. And then there's
Me
things
too.
that I will rewatch with another person because it's a fun experience. And Seed of
Mhm.
Chucky is the kind of movie that I would want to rewatch with another person just to
Right.
see them relate and see them connect to it. I think this is a great social watch.
This would definitely be something that I would want to show somebody who has not seen it yet.
Absolutely. Well, I would probably do a double feature, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky.
Yeah, that makes sense. You need to at least have a little idea of what you're getting into.
Yeah, just a little bit. Is there anything else we want to say about Jennifer Tilly while we're here? I mean, we can
Oh
go on and
God,
on
how
about
much
Jennifer Tilly.
how much time do we have? Yeah. Something I wish I'd looked up before we did this are her thoughts on the movie and how she feels about it, because again, it does make so much fun of her. She's making fun of herself. And I wonder how she still feels about it. Like, I'm sure she probably thinks it's hilarious.
Let me see.
Or are you looking?
Yeah, it's more so
Jennifer
about her.
Tilly on Seed of Chucky. Yeah, what her relationship to this particular film is.
All it's giving me is like her relationship with just being in the Chucky series at all, nothing specifically about Seed of Chucky. But what I can say is I do know when they were writing this, Jennifer Tilly said go hard. Like
Oh, yeah.
she wanted them to really go for it. Like I think she probably had a lot of fun with it. She went so hard to where the studio said, you need to dial this back because you're really making Jennifer Tilly an unlikable bitch.
Oh, wow. What a
So
nice thing to you're said about you.
I know. From what I know, obviously I can't speak for Jennifer Tilly, but I do genuinely think that she loved the experience of just like taking the piss out of herself because she's such a
Mhm.
comedian. She strikes me as one of those people that doesn't really take anything too seriously. That's what I think she would say. The internet didn't tell me that exactly, but
No, I just think that was such a smart addition to the series and proves her worth, just and the idea sounds like so much fun for, because I'm an actor and this would be like one of these really exciting things to do as an actor, but to play yourself and then have to go into a studio and record your other character, so when the scenes are Tiffany and Jennifer Tilly talking together, how fun to be acting off of yourself,
oh my gosh, that has to be so fun. And also that just adds more queer layers to it because we were already talking about how Jennifer Tilly as an entity outside of the Chucky franchise is a queer icon. Like we have
Absolutely.
fully accepted and embraced her. So not only having Jennifer Tilly the actress in the movie, but having Jennifer Tilly being a character in the movie, and what's more, having Jennifer Tilly being such a heightened, exaggerated caricature of what she could be. It's just,
Mm.
it's gay candy. It's queer snackage. Like,
Queer snackage. Yes, that's what it is. Hashtag queer snackage. We hit the third one. We got 3 of them.
yes, we did it. Yeah, I feel like we could just go on. We could spend hours just talking about Jennifer Tilly. I fucking
Mhm.
adore that woman. My God. I will say, I do think it is very clear that this is Don Mancini's first time directing a movie, and that's fine. We all have a first.
That's
And
right.
I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I will continue to say it in perpetuity until I die. I would much rather somebody make a movie like Don Mancini and like swing big and go for the fences and try something new than retrying the same old stale, non-complex formulas that people fall into. Especially if
Mhm.
it's a film that was never really written to be a franchise. Like I don't think I mean, I'm sure Don would have loved for it to have been a franchise, but I don't think it was written to be a franchise. Well, I think a lot of franchises tend to be just single movies that happen to be successful. So to have a movie that was never really written to be a franchise still manage to keep things fresh is way more exciting than just replaying the success of the first movie over and over and over again.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, there's nothing particularly formulaic about the way that these movies are making their journey. So instead of being like, okay, we're going to watch the guy in the mask kill off the teenagers, not that doesn't get done well sometimes, but other times, yeah, you're like, okay, I know exactly what we're going to see. This really throws a lot of curves at you. You're like, okay, I didn't expect that.
Exactly. And not to keep going into this, y'all, but that mode of operation carries through to the series in really
Mhm.
big ways, really fun and exciting ways.
Watch the series, do it. You won't be
Please,
disappointed.
please do. Please, please, please do. Yes. All right. I did another little poll thing on Instagram to get a little
Oh,
audience
cool.
input. Yes. So I mean, I just asked the big question about this movie is, does it get too much hate or does it not get enough hate? Basically. And 100% of the people that responded said that it gets too much hate. So
I concur.
yes, the horror icon audience is composed of good people with good taste. So thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you.
Most excellent. Well, do you have any final things that you want to say about this movie, Donnie?
The only other thing that I would want to mention that I don't think we touched upon is just how vibrant and bright this whole movie seems to me to be, like the color palette, which I think
Mhm.
we talked about in the last movie, is just delicious to look at.
Yeah, it is. Whereas Bride of Chucky was very like gothic and romantic. I think this movie, it's bright and saturated in another way. Its color palette is very much like a bag of Skittles or a bag of
Mhm.
gummy bears, where it's very bright and artificial. And I think that that's a wonderful visual language to use to carry this movie that's all about just nonsense.
Nonsense. Yes, utter nonsense. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
perfect.
Any favorite set pieces?
I don't know. I'm thinking of Jennifer Tilly's entire house.
Oh
I
God,
would live there. Yeah,
that house is insane. I think they shot that part in Romania.
really.
Yeah,
It's a cool looking house.
yeah.
Mhm.
I do like Jennifer Tilly's house. I think that would probably be my favorite set piece too. 'Cause there's really not much else. There's
Yeah, there's not much else going on. A lot of it takes place in the house. I mean, her dining room and the bedroom and things like that. I'm thinking specifically the dining room, living room areas, right? Yeah, very, very funny.
yes. What about do you have a favorite kill in this movie?
I feel like the kills are almost somewhat inconsequential to the rest of this movie.
Absolutely.
They're just so we haven't even talked about them, really, you know?
Okay, so let's go through them real quick. If we wanna talk about everything we see, there's the parents at the top of the film, right? From Gigi's
Mhm.
dream. So the father gets stabbed, falls over a banister. The mother slips and hits her head in the shower.
Right. We do have the guy who gets beheaded in the Hollywood studio.
Yes, Tony Gardner gets beheaded with some piano wire or whatever, some cable. Oh, Britney Spears. Britney
Oh,
Spears dies in this
sure.
movie.
Britney Spears dies in a car crash. Yeah. Oh,
And
well.
then there's Pete Peterson. I know. That was apparently they really wanted Britney Spears to play herself in that, and she declined.
Where she declined. It's a moment in the movie that almost stretches it too far for me. Almost. But I've accepted
Yeah.
the journey that we're on, so I'm willing to watch it.
My thought is that is a moment in the movie that was made specifically for the trailer.
Yes, yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, Britney Spears dies, and then the paparazzi dies, Pete Peterson, with
Mhm.
we talked about that, the melted chemicals. And then
Right.
Redman dies. Oh, and I love that Jennifer Tilly calls him Redman.
Redman.
Yeah, Mr. Redman. He gets gutted and eviscerated by Tiffany. And then a couple of
Joan.
randos. Yeah, Joan gets killed by Glenda, gets lit on
Mhm.
fire and falls over a banister into the foyer. There's some random people that Chucky killed off screen, tucked into a closet. And then
Right.
Stan dies. He gets a knife thrown into him, trying to protect
Man.
somebody. Yeah, they are pretty inconsequential for the most part. I think the
Yeah.
only one that carries any weight is Joan. But even then, I think maybe that's another reason why some people didn't really like this movie is because the kills, they are secondary and
Mhm.
they're played for way more comedic effect.
Yeah.
And
Some of them don't, you want to see a whole scene. I mean, the whole Pete Peterson paparazzi death actually is its own little movie, and we've become accustomed to seeing these death scenes kind of like, not necessarily in a Final Destination kind of way, but where there's a beginning, a middle, and the end. And then some of them, like Stan dying because he jumped in front of Jennifer Tilly as they threw a knife, or in front of Tiffany. I can't remember who he was trying to save. It's over like that. There's no, I don't want to say there's no thought behind it, but it's not the elongated death scene that we're, looking forward to with anticipation.
Yeah, there's no defined set pieces for any of these apart from the paparazzi. And I think that's one of the things that makes a really good and impactful death scene in a horror movie is having a well-established, easily identifiable, impactful set piece for the action to take place and for there to be, like you said, a very clear and fun set of actions that leads to someone's demise. So I guess I'm gonna have to say like Pete Peterson's my favorite. I mean, it's John
Mine as well.
Waters. John Waters, like, oh, what a treat to have. John Waters is such a Chucky super fan too. I'm so happy for him that he got to be in this movie.
Again, just having him there is, he's a gay icon, a queer icon. So it elevates the gayness of this film.
Oh, absolutely. You can tell that he's just loving being there and he's having a great time being this filthy paparazzi, and it was just such a treat. I remember that death is the one that really stuck with me when I first saw this when I was younger, was the melting half of his face.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah. That's that, I think. That's Seed of Chucky, everybody. Yeah, I mean,
or Chucky.
Very, very queer, both gender queer, sexuality, like all of it, very, very much. And like I said, this is the last time we see Chucky in theaters. After this, we go to Curse of Chucky, which came out, I think, almost 10 years later. I don't know the exact.
Yeah, it was a big jump.
It was a big jump. It was similar to how there's a jump from Child's Play 3 to Bride of Chucky, and then there was a jump from Seed of Chucky to Curse of Chucky. Like Chucky says, he'll be back. He always comes back.
That's right.
Donnie, where can our listeners find you?
Oh, you can find me on the internet, this thing called Instagram, where you can look me up on my full name. If you're reading this, that'll help. If you're just listening, it's the word the, Donnie, Donnie, and then my last name, which is Cianciotto. I'm probably the only person with that last name on all of Instagram, so it should be relatively easy to find.
Yes, and I will put it on the screen, everybody. I will write it down so that way you can spell it.
If my name was Smith, this would be so much easier.
It's okay. Cianciotto has a nice ring to it, I think.
It sure does.
You can find me on the Instagram as well, Cryan_in_public. And you can find Horror Icon on also Instagram. That's Horror Icon, spelled WHORROR, Icon Pod. And please feel free to email us at horroricon@gmail.com. I love hearing from y'all. Suggestions, comments, thoughts.
Compliments. Nice
Compliments.
things.
Yes, nice things. Shoot us an email. And keep an eye on social media because I'm throwing stuff up there for interactivity purposes. And I'm just trying shit out. Help me.
Help.
We're making a show here, baby. Let's do it. So that's all I have to say. Once again, thank you so much for spending some time with us, cutie patooties. And we're going to catch you next time with Curse of Chucky. Until then, don't be scared. Unless you're into that sort of thing.
Bye. Bye.